even during the break. And here we
Like
are
right
live on
now.
YouTube. Like, hello, YouTubers. Good morning. Woohoo!
All right, hang on. Here we go.
Benny, I'm ready. Good morning and welcome to the original Loretta Brown Show radio to open the heart, heal the soul, and awaken the consciousness. Benny, what planet are we on? I'm just checking in.
Gosh, I really still hope we're on planet Earth from what happened yesterday. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. That's all I gotta say.
Oh man, and that was only day 6 of January, and I know. And everyone's like, I had someone text me last night. She goes, "Is this what 2021 has in store for us, Loretta?" And I said, well, sometimes when you pass from one year into another, or from one room into another, or from one life into another, a little bit of something goes with you. There's a little bit of
there's a little
right?
extra that's brought through. Sure.
So, I'm kind of trying to encourage people just to call it the year of growing pains, right? And of course, today we're going to do everything we can to help center everybody, kind of exhale a little bit and realize once again we are co-creators, because I am like co-creating this show with Mr. Benny Mathers, and it's one of my great joys. Anyway, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the wonderful things you do, Benny. I thank you every time, but I haven't seen you in person for so long, and
well, you're quite welcome no matter what. I'm always here for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah. And for all of my listeners, thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to try to lift you up a little bit this morning. So I am Loretta Brown. I'm the owner of Reiki Oasis, located right here in the greater Seattle area for 26 years. That's a long time. And we're still going. We're still here doing most everything through Zoom and FaceTime and all of that kind of stuff, but it's working. I do have workshops coming up. I have a Reiki 1 workshop on Saturday. Who knew? And for those that came to my end of the year despacho ceremony, we did it via Zoom, and it was wonderful. It was really, really powerful. So I hope that helps set the energies for you. On Saturday, January 16th, I have my monthly class for women called the Temple of the Divine Feminine. And also every Sunday at 11 a.m., Sunday meditation with Loretta, for you to reset yourself, refocus, and get yourself off to a good start for the week. And we've been doing meditations with the angels, the archangels, and I've been hearing some wonderful stories back from people about what has happened. And I got to be honest with you, because they're what's called transmissions. So the energy comes through me while we're doing the meditation, and most people fall asleep. So it's not really Sunday morning nap time with Loretta, but it could be, don't feel bad if that's what happens. Sometimes high spiritual energy kind of takes you down a little bit, and that's okay. It's okay. It's a little reset, right? You can sign up for everything with me at schedule.reikioasis.com. And thank you to my patrons. We are a listener supported show. Woo! I always feel like I need to put skyrockets and like happy, because I'm so grateful. I really am. Those of you that contribute, go to patreon.com/The Loretta Brown Show. You can become part of that inner family and know that what you do helps bring great shows like this to the air, right? So like I said, here we are. We're in the 1 week into January of 2021. And we have people in odd costumes running around in the Capitol. So that
to them, they might not think it's that odd. I mean, frankly,
sometimes people look at themselves in the mirror and they go, "Yeah, that's it. I'm going out now. That's it." So that's it. You can decide where you are in that range of how you feel about it, right?
I do want to share one of the best things I heard when the Senate reconvened was from a Republican senator. And he said, we have to move forward with he said the word hating each other.
That's right.
And he had a great I'm all about practical things, methods, the free soul method. He said, go do something for a neighbor, shovel their driveway, even if there are different political beliefs. It's hard to hate someone who shoveled your driveway, or, you know, my wife, God bless her, all women are like Mrs. Claus clones. And people across the street from us, young people, got COVID. And she called me on the way home. I'm almost embarrassed I didn't think about it. She goes, I'm just letting you know, I'm dropping off a Whole Foods dinner. I got them, you know, some soups, some organic vegetables, and every which way we can pay it, not just forward, but now, to make the new beginning. I think it's very important that we say we are co-creators of what 2021 will be. And it's upsetting. I'm sure all your listeners are upset. I'm upset.
Yeah.
But let's use that upset to trigger sending love, sending hope, sending what can we do? And I'm sorry, I know I was supposed to stay quiet till you introduced me, but I couldn't help myself.
No, you know, the person talking, by the way, is Pete Sanders, and Pete Sanders Jr. And Pete is actually one of my soul brothers for like the last 30 years or 40 years or something. I don't even know how long I've known you, Pete, but I'm so glad for what you said, because it's exactly what needs to be said.
Yeah, you
It's
spoke from the
exactly
heart.
right.
You spoke from a good soul point. So that's well said.
And later in the show, we're going to explain the physiology that keeps people from doing that. It's not that they're somehow not spiritual enough, that they didn't think it, that they're not wanting to do it. There's actual brain science that explains it, that they can learn to counter. That's the good news.
I actually think that's such a good point that I'm going to pause for a minute before I do my little astrology check-in, because so many people come to me, Pete, and you know, they'll say, why am I acting like this? Right? Like something happened and my head just exploded and I can't control myself. And why am I acting like this? And I do want to kind of wait to go deep into that, but I'm just kind of throw that out there as a teaser, kind of keep that as a question that we can go into in just a moment. Yeah, because I know you're probably one of the best people to help explain that. So let me do my quick astrology check-in, and then I do want to spend a lot of time with Pete this morning, because I haven't talked with him for a long time. So you guys just get to talk with him with me, right? That's what happens when you have someone that you really love and is a good friend on your show. That's what you get to do when you have your own show. So,
and I haven't seen Loretta in a long time, and I know we're supposed to see people as souls, not physical, but to parody the Saturday Night Live, you know, comedy skit from forever, you look marvelous. You look like I met you 30 years ago, and I'm Mr. White Guy, hair and beard now. So whatever she's doing, folks, it's working.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This is my natural hair color enhanced. That's my one thing I'll tell people. But yeah, people ask me all the time, what are your secrets? And I'm going to tell you that a lot of it is the spiritual work and the energy work that I do. So, you know, and, you know, trying to keep a positive attitude, I think does a lot, and releasing that trauma limbic thing. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I love how we keep alluding to it. People are like, would you just tell us? And I'm like, just hang on a minute. We'll be there. Right. So I just want to tell you that we are the first part of 2021. We are in a little bit of sticky energy from 2020, as you've all figured out. And even though through the whole year of 2021, astrologically, it's not as crazy as last year, we do have a lot going on, especially in the month of January. It's a very busy month of transitioning from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius is what we're doing. So the first couple of months of 2021 are going to have repeating themes from last year. And 2021 is a 5-year numerologically, which is about change, creativity, freedom, and adventure. And whereas 2020 brought change and destruction, 2021 is going to bring innovation and building. It is time for us to build from our hearts now. And we are taking a look at those structures that were built that were external to us, which is very much Capricorn energy, which we're still in, right? So when we go from, I don't know, I did a vision quest years ago, and it's weird to me how my guides will just bring me this thing to say in the moment. But years ago, I was doing a vision quest, and had this, I was out in the middle of nowhere doing it, in the old fashioned way. And at one point, while I was trying to get dry under a tarp that I had, and it was raining like crazy, and I was sitting under the tarp feeling pretty miserable and soaked through the bone, I heard very clearly from my guides, and they said, you are taking an external structure and rebuilding it as an internal structure. And I felt all of a sudden this peace and calm come over me, and realized that we are the ones that either are reacting or responding to our environment. And the way that we look at things is very, very vital for what is coming up. So 2021, the age of Aquarius, is about the expansion of our minds and the ways that we choose to live our lives. So 2021 is calling us to think outside the box, because the box is being blown up. And when we think outside of the box, it's like, okay, so how could we do this differently? And Aquarius energy is also cooperative. It's a very strange sign. People always ask me, what is that Aquarian thing about? Because here you have a picture of somebody bearing water, and yet it is an air sign. And I'm here to tell you, it's the sign of alchemy. Just like water can be changed from water into vapor and go up into the clouds, and steam, and then can change form and fall back to earth. The Aquarian energy wants to take everything that we've been through, that ocean of emotion that's all jammed up with stuff, and it wants to, in its own way, transform it through the power of air. And air is going to be new thought, it's going to be new ways of communication, and all kinds of things. And as you all know, sometimes when we've had our throat chakra blocked for a while, or we have not been who we know ourselves to be, we sometimes pendulum too far the other way. So it's going to be a little bit of a swing back and forth. We have some planetary alignments that are going to give us a little bit of challenges, especially Saturn squaring Uranus. And Uranus is, anytime we've got Uranus, and these are going to be powerful energies for the whole year. Saturn is about that karma, about that structure, and Uranus is about unexpected shifts. So they're going to be banging up against each other all year. So we're going to have a bit of a push-pull between that which we are leaving and that which we are being called to create. Now, I want to remind everybody, you are here for this time. That's why you came. Your guides and angels want to speak with you. And I will encourage you to follow the guidance of your innermost heart, not your emotional heart, and help us all find the way. And that's kind of the way it is. And I am that girl that thinks we should all hold hands and run across the finish line together. So please forgive me for that. If you'd like to leave some people behind, because we do want to enter into the energy of love and light. So with all of that, I can't think of a better time to have my guest on the show. And in a world where we no longer know what is the truth, one of the most important things any of us could do is connect deeper to our own inner self, higher self, inner guidance, higher guidance, God, divine, whatever you want to call it. And my guest, my soul brother, Pete A. Sanders Jr., knows just how to do that. Pete Sanders is the founder of the Free Soul Method and author of several books to include You Are Psychic, the Free Soul Method, Access Your Brain's Joy Center, and Scientific Vortex Information. Pete is an honors graduate of MIT with principal studies in biomedical chemistry. I don't even know what that is, and brain science. Accepted to attend Harvard Medical School, he chose instead to pursue independent exploration of the mind, body, spirit potentials, and developed the Free Soul Method, inner technology techniques, and secrets from science for creating your own enlightenment. Wow. He shares his discoveries to help vets with PTSD and to help all of us with the limbic brain, the trauma body, and he also heads up Vortex tours out of Sedona. Whoa. And he is one of my teachers. He's one of my mentors. I met him years and years ago. And I've actually been a senior counselor instructor for Free Soul for years. So welcome to the show, Pete. Officially welcome, although I loved what you said before.
I couldn't contain myself from blurbing out. I want to say something that you haven't heard me say exactly in this way before, that I've been feeling as I move into I'm in my 6th decade of being a professional spiritual teacher. I started at 19 at MIT. I meant to make very clear to people that the Free Soul method is not me, Pete Sanders. It's not even the nonprofit foundation I started in Sedona in 1980, Free Soul. The Free Soul method means the ideal that you all deserve to be able to learn methods that free you spiritually, to be your own best teacher, to be able to adapt all different spiritual modalities you may learn to the way that best serves your learning purpose here on the planet this time. And you know that's always been my heart since you met me 30 so years ago. But I just, in this time where it's so easy for people to be thinking, oh, this is the thing, the guru I should go to, I want to be clear. I'm a big fan of Swami Beyondananda, the comedian. He says nobody should go to a guru unless it's themselves. Because if you just spell it slowly, guru is G. You are you. So I'm very passionate about what I've developed. It's changed my life, touched people like Loretta and millions others, but I'm not the one that's important. You people listening are important, and never forget that. You are a part of the kindred spirit network that is going to make a difference in your life, on the planet, in the universe. And I'm just here to try and share with you techniques and concepts, breakthroughs, insights that have worked for me.
You know, I'm sitting here and I'm really hearing from my own guidance how vitally important what you have been saying all these years is now. And it's very self-empowering. It's very Aquarian in its own right.
And
So
I'm going to add a triangle.
Sure.
This is a little bit of a plug, but it's a purposeful spiritual plug. That triangle for success spiritually involves insight and ideas, methods and techniques, and then practice. I mean, you originally trained in the dynamics of being a free soul 10-lesson course. That was Free Soul's first 10 years. I wrote this 10-lesson, 80 technique course and trained instructors around the country. Then after we had a core of wonderful people like you, I said, let's take the best of that and put it in the You Are Psychic book, and working with Macmillan and hardcover and now Simon & Schuster in paperback. It's worldwide. It's in 7 languages. And people should take advantage if they want to have a vehicle for practicing. I mean, we practiced how to write or how to read. Spiritual skills need not just methods, but also a form for practicing. So they should take advantage of doing the 10-lesson course via Zoom with you, or of the materials that I have developed that they can use remotely, digital download or product, or coming to Sedona, really not in person. We're not recommending people come to our February retreat because of what's going on. And this is the first time we are going to offer that retreat via Zoom, and even better than Zoom. Because, you know, I can be a world-class worrier. And some of your listeners, even though spiritual, might be too. And it's hard for me. I love sharing with people in person, seeing their energy, feeling their energy better. And by the way, even professional spiritual people in Sedona I've talked with said it's hard for them. They feel drained after a day of doing Zoom sessions. And I just want to share this for everybody. The energy from someone it's like the volume's turned down when you're getting it through Zoom, unless you remember to do the soul shift technique that people can learn from our website, freesoul.net, or that Loretta teaches in the 10-lesson course. And because the volume's turned down, and these spiritual people, some of them practitioners, they've been straining to increase that inward volume, so then they strain to project. and then they feel drained at the end of the day. But so I didn't want the worry of doing the retreat via Zoom. Does somebody's internet break down? And Free Soul got Vimeo. Vimeo is a way we can store large, hour, 2-hour recordings. And I'm actually going to pre-record the major segments of the retreat. And people will get a link to be with us live. And we'll record the retreat. And then they'll be able to have all of them. So I'm kind of excited of how these horrible circumstances are pushing me into a way to get, I always try and bring out in February our newest discoveries to everyone, whether they can come to Sedona or not. So I'm sorry, that was a long-winded, what started to be a plug for Take Loretta's course, which is one of my top instructors in the nation. And it is a great way, even with all I've developed, that 10-lesson course is the best way of quantum leaping your spiritual skills and your skills for tapping soulness, living life as a soul.
So for the listeners, there's two things there. I'll briefly mention, I am offering the Free Soul 10-week dynamics of being a free soul starting at the end of January. You can sign up for that at schedule.reikioasis.com. It will be via Zoom, but also, and I've taught that class for absolute years. It's really a soul development and psychic development course, all kind of mixed in together. And then I want you to talk a little bit more about your I call it a retreat workshop, but you can call it whatever it is. It is your February workshop. And if you could tell us just a little bit more about that. I think it's called Limitless Love.
Before I really want to get to Limbic Brain a little bit first, but let me just say, the title of the workshop is Limitless Love, Serenity Through Any Storm. And it's one of the few, we always have it on the President's holiday weekend, because people can travel more. But every 7 or 8 years, the President's holiday weekend also falls on Valentine's Day. So we're going to be bringing out new advanced techniques for how to let unconditional love fill your life and counter some of the deeper, what you mentioned earlier, why am I acting this way? And see, here's the thing. I referred to earlier, and let me just say before I go to that, we are giving a $25 discount to the remote program or the in-person program to listeners of the show. And we'll say more about that later. But spiritual people, the type of people who listen to your show, when they find themselves behaving in an unspiritual way, they tend to do this. What's wrong with me? I thought I was more spiritual than that. Why did I? And that's because they've never been told the truth. Whether they are devout Christians, Buddhists, followers of Judaism or Hinduism, everyone is affected by the fact that we have this monster called the limbic system of the brain that is designed to make you feel lousy and act in a survival struggle reflex rather than from your soulness. And see, when people don't know this, they automatically go, I failed. I guess I'm not spiritual enough. I mean, I was lecturing in Denver for when I first made the discovery for how to trigger in seconds mood elevation fibers in the brain. That's what's in the Access Your Brain's Joy Center book. And this doctor in the front row goes, what an amazing discovery. What a shame it's not going to go anywhere and it won't make you any money. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, it's not going to make you any money because when you teach people how to trigger those fibers and feel better fast in seconds without alcohol, nicotine, drugs, or overeating, they don't need you anymore. The real money is in a product that they have to keep buying. So it kind of helps if that product's addictive. Mm-hmm. And does that give you an idea why vaping ran through teenagers? Yeah. Nicotine actually does soothe limbic brain. It's not just that nicotine is physically addictive, that people smoked forever, even though they knew it was bad. It's that it so soothes the anxiety part of the limbic brain that people are more willing to live with the death threat of cancer from smoking than the constant agony of distress. And see, the limbic brain is from our evolutionary past, where you were more survivable, miserable than happy. Back in cave person days, if you went wandering through the meadow, isn't life great? Something would make you lunch. You understand? And
like T-Rex.
yeah, and you got to realize the I've had several different layers of key sayings. I like words as well as images to keep me on track. And Free Soul was founded on the phrase, you are a soul, you have a body, and make life a quest, not a test. Well, then superstrength physics came along that said, oh, by the way, we now know everybody exists in 10 or more dimensions. So you know how most of an iceberg's below the water and only a little sticks above? Superstrength physics basically says this stuff is the above the water part of the iceberg, but there's this huge more. Turn it upside down, whether you are an atheist or a devout Christian or a Buddhist, et cetera, you can tap, you have those dimensions beyond. Now, that begs the question, if that's true, why aren't we all walking around tapping those dimensions and being enlightened? And that's because this thing here is like a giant anchor chain that pulls people more into the trauma body that you mentioned, into living not spiritually. And if people get nothing out of this show today, please remember this phrase. When you don't feel good, or when you're acting in a way that you're not proud of, it's not your fault, it's your physiology. Learn how to counter that physiology and be polishing and improving to make our nation a more perfect union.
That's beautiful.
I don't really want people to ever feel bad about pressure or when they're not doing something well. You mentioned we're here for a purpose. I'm a big kid. I love it when I can go to Disney World and in the Epcot ride that spaceship Earth thing, geodesic dome, and seeing planet Earth like suspended in space. You realize what a beautiful school this is. And I think we actually come here to experience pressure. And I want to give people one other phrase to help them get out of this part. And your job, Loretta, is to remind me every so often to slap this side. Pressure without purpose creates earthquakes and heart attacks. Mm-hmm. Pressure with purpose creates diamonds and enlightenment. What goes on in the sun is huge pressure that creates light and warmth. And the same way it can create physical light, it can create enlightenment of the soul, our own wisdom. So instead of punishing, be polishing. The way we make polished stones is we tumble them in grit. And we got to just acknowledge we all have grit in our lives, or stuff that rhymes with grit.
Yeah, that is true. We are actually going to take a little station break right now, Pete. And this is Loretta Brown, owner of Reiki Oasis. My guest today, Pete Sanders, who is the founder of the Free Soul Method. And we're talking about the limbic brain. And so don't go away, because I think this is really timely information. We're going to talk more about that and the Free Soul Method and how you can actually help yourself, because it's very practical, in just a moment. So let's take a station break. Mr. Benny.
Cool. All clear.
Good. Okay. So we're still live on YouTube a little bit.
People who are still following us on YouTube, a beauty secret, how this all ties in, is when people aren't limbic, when they're living more as a soul, they don't anxiety face. They don't have as many of those wrinkles that develop from stress. So we're just tying them to, you said it's your positive energy, the way you work with, all that's true. Channeling energy through you helps because you've learned to live life more as a soul, to counter limbic brain, and you don't walk around with a distressed face, even though you're faced with stuff. We're all faced with stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's so true.
I'm going to disappear from the screen. The sun just came up here, and I'm going to make
Sure.
that curtain a little bit
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, take a minute. Take a minute. So yeah, while Pete's fixing that, for those of you that know me, I'm a Reiki master, and so I practice the Reiki principles every day, and they are things such as, just for today, I will not be angry. Just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will be grateful. Just for today, I will do my work honestly, and I always mean like be present with it. And just for today, I will be kind to every creature, beginning with myself. And involved in that is the gratitude. And so I practice what's called the 3 gratitudes, where every night before I go to bed and every morning when I get up, I just try to think of 3 things to be grateful for. It sort of, for me, begins to dismantle that tightness within the system. So
it's great doing it at night because that way you don't sleep with a tight face.
And we got to come back. So here we go.
Here we go.
I want to live where soul meets body and let the sun wrap its arms.
Oh, Betty, that's the best song. That's the best song. Thank you. Yeah, that's it for sure. Absolutely, for sure. So welcome back to the original Loretta Brown Show. And like I said, I'm Loretta Brown. You can find out more about me at ReikiOasis.com. You can join me on Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff, right? And my guest today is Pete A. Sanders Jr., the founder of the Free Soul Method and author of the books, You Are Psychic, Access Your Brain's Joy Center, and Scientific Vortex Information. Pete, I want to ask you this, because we're tapping all around it, and we're talking about the limbic brain, and a lot of people talk about the trauma body. And is this part of the limbic brain system? And I guess I want to kind of point out too, and I want you can expound on this. When we're talking about the limbic brain, because I'm not a brain scientist, so I put things into simple words for simple folks, right? When we get activated into fight, flight, or freeze, and I think 2020, the pandemic, all of this, even the things that happened yesterday in our nation's capital, right? It activates us into this fight, flight, or freeze mechanism to where, like you say, we're just not functioning correctly. So obviously all kinds of things activate that. And you've been alluding to how we deactivate that. So can you talk a little bit more about that? And how do we access hope?
Well, first of all, let me give people some practical avenues they can go to that we don't have time for. And then I'll share some simple tips that we do have time for. You can go to my website, freesoul.net. And on the upper right, there's a menu that says Free Soul Videos. And you can click on that. And one of the videos is being led through the soul shift technique that helps people tap those dimensions beyond. In Loretta's course, she's going to start with that and gradually do deeper and deeper versions. And my new deeper material, Science for Living as a Soul, this 2 DVD set that has how to heal inner soul crystal, soul trauma body, or when people couldn't travel to Sedona, I did a 70-minute DVD called you mentioned the word Vision Quest, the Sedona Vision Quest system, how to get answers for the rest of your life. Those teach deeper versions of that. The Access Your Brain's Joy Center book, chapter 1, has how to trigger those fibers. And when we are in that fight, flight, or freeze body, triggered by limbic brain, it then creates distress that can lead to dis-ease, disease. So it literally puts negative effects. And the best way I can illustrate a way out of that, see, a pure brain scientist would say, oh, you're just hyping and you're overbeating up on the limbic brain. It serves a purpose. It does. It warns us about potential problems. I saw a great quote somewhere that said, worry is a misuse of imagination, of soul awareness. And what I say to people in my I'm not doing Vortex tours at the moment, just with COVID, but I am giving my every Monday scientific Vortex information presentation in Sedona. And what I say as part of that presentation is, would you like to see or understand why you should never worry about what you eat? And everybody goes, oh yeah. And so I ask a brave and highly sensitive female to stand next to me. Now, I'm not a dirty old man. We just celebrated recently our 86th wedding anniversary. The Navy made us have 2 weddings for my wife to be on the plane with me to the Fleet flagship in Italy.
Oh, I
So
see.
it was the
Okay.
second of our 43rd.
Because I was about to say, you look marvelous.
You know. So I've learned it doesn't work to do this demonstration with a guy. I'll explain with it in a moment. But I have somebody who's sensitive and brave stand next to me, and I put my hands on their shoulders and I say, tell me how this feels.
Right.
I'm worried about you. And they go, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't ask for guys volunteers anymore because they always say the same thing. It was fine. I didn't feel anything. But we cleanse their aura. Then I put my hands the same place and I say, tell me how this feels. I care about you. Oh, that feels good. Care about what you eat. Don't worry about what you eat. You could eat the best nutritional diet, but if you go limbic brain hamster wheel, did I get the exact right type of organic almond milk? The nervous anxiety coursing through the tissue might actually counter the good nutrition. So the key is never, no, that's wrong, I shouldn't feel that way. Never invalidate a limbic trigger, but choose to go care, which is soul, quest. Nobody says a quest is easy, but when you think quest, you hear exploration, freedom, adventure, rather than test, worry, hurt, anxiety. Now, so for me, caring, when I find myself worrying, that's a way to get me out of the limbic hamster wheel. Here's where that breaks down. If you're caring for someone and it's not fixable, one of the toughest years of my life was a year or 2 ago when we had my wife's 93-year-old mom living with us. My granddaughter, infant, she falls, she bounces on her diaper, she gets back up. A 93-year-old falls, it's a whole different world of hurt. And I couldn't make her not 93. So can you see how in caring for someone, you can get into limbic?
Yeah.
Then the word has to be love. Then you love them, even if you can't fix them. Doesn't mean you don't do Reiki, doesn't mean you don't send energy, but you don't make your worth or your peace of mind, can you fix it? You love as the primary healing, don't make fixing the whole success or failure issue. And the same doesn't just apply to the physical body, but fixing a relationship with ourself, polishing, not punishing.
While you're talking, I'm thinking about, your history a little bit about, being a graduate of MIT with, studies in biochemistry and brain science and being accepted to Harvard Medical School and then choosing to go a different route. What made you come on this route? Because I'm also thinking about the difference between logic and the direction of the heart. A lot of people talk about that. So what made you
It had to
change
do
your
with
direction?
I think it had to do with the main reason I was pointed toward medicine. By the way, my advisor at MIT threw a book at me when she read my Harvard application. She said, "You idiot. How could you write that?" I said, "What?" She said, "You wrote you want to be a general practitioner, country doctor." I said, "Yeah, I want to be the guy who will, if somebody can't pay, they pay me with a chicken." She said, "You'll never get into Harvard that way." And I won't, there's a long story about why it did work out. But also, I started seeking as a 5, 6-year-old, thanks to my mom. My mom was a seeker. My dad was killed when I was very young. One of my first memories is sitting in some basement in Brooklyn in a community college on world religions. And as part of my seeking, I read the book, There Is a River, the story of Edgar Cayce's life. And Cayce had wonderful things he channeled, but to me, the most significant was the beginning of his life story as a child. He was walking in the woods and he saw an angel. And the angel said to him, "Edgar, if you could have anything you want, what would it be?" And he didn't say, "I want a bicycle," or "I want to be rich and famous." He said, "I want to be able to help people." And that was the bottom line.
Yeah.
I kind of said, one more caring doctor, I'd be a good doctor, would help people. But then growing up 10 through high school in Southern California and seeing a lot of what I call woo-woo. And what I say is, hey, this stuff can be amazing, but let's bring it out of woo-woo into wow. Let's make it practical, purposeful, and teach people methods for sustainable wellness. See, most people go to upflow vortexes, and people, again, on freesoul.net, they can watch a video on that page of a little 5-6 minute about the vortexes and superstrings physics. Most people go to upflow vortexes to get out of limbic distress. The brain scientists say anything that pulls them up gets them out of limbic. That's why walking works. That's why going places. Music has charms to soothe the savage beast. This is the savage beast. That's why every generation has their own version of oldies. Oldies was the music that soothed you when you were in high school and you thought you had problems. So I encourage people in Sedona, don't just go to a vortex for momentary relief. Learn how to have sustainable wellness. Learn how to treat the cause, not just soothe the symptoms. And, I love my wife, very proud of her. She's not the oldest. She's Sedona's longest continuous serving public school teacher. And she says to me, "Pete, I got to tell you, I love you, but I can't tell my 5th, 6th grade math students, make life a quest, not a test. That's a little too new agey, even for Sedona." She says, "I just want to get them the first step of the way." To me, if you're feeling struggling, your limbic brain. She says, "I just want them to learn the difference between destructive struggle and productive struggle." When you're in destructive struggle on that math problem, here's what you look like. That's how life feels. When you're in productive struggle on that math problem, you're wondering how to solve it. And, you can tell I like words. Quest, not test. Serenity through any storm. If we can identify when we're being triggered limbic and choose not to go hamster wheel, instead of having a stressful life, we can have a wonderful life. We can have more happiness, more serenity, more success, because you think clearly when you're not in limbic blinders.
I absolutely love everything you're saying. And I actually love your sayings, right? I think you have a little book out there with that, or I have that book. I don't know if it's still in publication.
Well, it's called Free Soul Reflections. One of our instructors said, "I want to do a book of your quotes." Mm-hmm. And, it just wasn't getting out enough. So I want to tell everybody there is a Free Soul Facebook page, and we put one of those quotes each week for free up on that page.
Yeah.
As a way of helping people do that.
Now, yeah, because I think those things get in us and they help us. We're like, oh yeah, that's a little thing I can have a little mantra going on in my head. I want to touch just briefly on your guides and angels. Is everybody psychic, and what is the importance of being able to communicate with that higher guidance?
Well, first of all, think of the psychic senses as the senses of the soul. The physical senses are the way we sense the 3D world through the body, and the psychic senses are the senses of the soul. So, whether you use the word psychic or higher mind, higher consciousness, you know that you have these other senses. And whether you believe in angels, guides, universal unconscious, whatever you want to call it, the divine, there are energies of wisdom that you can tap. Personally, I feel that if we came to planet Earth for a reason, and remember, there's only two choices. Either we came for a reason or we were just floating around and got too close to people having sex and, oh shit, stuck in the body again. Okay? But it makes sense you would attract to you souls that have wisdom in what you're polishing. I know my guides are learning infinite amounts about patience dealing with me. We told them that. Okay. But here's the thing. There are PBS shows about superstrings physics people can watch or download. The two best are called The Elegant Universe or Fabric of the Cosmos. And here's the part that might hurt people's head or confuse them. They say, it did for me for a while. They say that some of those extra dimensions are tightly curled up little things. And at first that didn't make sense to me, because whenever I've meditated or felt in the presence of my angels or guides or the divine, it always feels like this expansive feeling. Well, remember how I said turn the iceberg upside down? You don't have to turn it upside down. It's a double iceberg. The expansive dimensions are that outward blending with the universe. Those tightly curled up dimensions, you know how a tree has rings or a pearl has layers? Maybe those tightly curled up dimensions are like the layers of the soul pearl, where memory and in particular hurts are stored. And, superstrings physics is just the tip of the iceberg. The physicists have now discovered an energy that they say is 15 times more than what the average person thinks of as the whole universe. What most people think of as the universe is all the stars, all the planets, all the heat, all the light, all that together makes up less than 5% of the energy that's out there, according to top physicists. You know about the Big Bang and how the universe is expanding? The force causing that expansion that they know is there, but they don't know exactly what it is, they say makes up 75% of what's out there. Some people from a spiritual point of view would call the Big Bang and that energy the spark of the divine, or the divine light that shines through us. But if your soul pearl is sooted up on layers, you're getting soda straw, that energy through you, rather than fire hose. When you can clear, and this is a key part, it is covered. I did say it's not a prerequisite, but I recommend people get the Science for Living as a Soul 2 DVD set. Mm-hmm. I do cover in that how to go in, heal cracks in inner soul crystal. It's like a precursor to what we're going to teach in the Sedona Limitless Love Retreat. But when you learn to counter limbic brain from this, instead of being stressed out, you can go with the flow. When you learn to clear the soot out of those inner soul pearl layers, instead of just going with the flow, you can glow with the flow. You can learn to be the river, not just the rapids and the rocks. You can literally learn methods for living life as a soul with serenity through any storm or grit that is going on. And we all have that because we came to polish. So we're going to keep attracting things that give us ways to polish and improve.
Yeah. So in 1 minute or less, but we have more time than that in the show, but I'm kind of spacing things here. I've got a couple of things to bring forward. What is Free Soul, and why did you found it, particularly in Sedona? Very quickly.
Free Soul is a fellowship of kindred spirits. We actually call our instructors facilitators. It's designed to share methods that help people learn how to be their own best teacher and live life as a soul. The retreats I have in Sedona are designed to bring out the latest material. People can register by just going to our website. We have a donate button, and the remote option is less than the in-person option. And so we are giving a $25 discount to anybody who's watching the show. So like the remote option is $225. For watchers of the show, it would be only $200. And in the notes, they need to say, I heard about this on the Loretta Brown show. Give us their, contact information, and then we'll let them know they'll be able to get all the links. But our purpose is to be an oasis that helps people support themselves as they go through challenging times as spiritual seekers. One of the great myths is, if I'm really spiritual enough, I won't have any problems. No. I mean, if you don't have any problems, write your will, because you're going to die. If you've decided to stay and you're wanting to still keep growing, you're going to attract to you new polishers. And if you counter limbic brain and you care, polish, don't punish, then you can have serenity through that storm and be proud of how you're learning, even if you're clueless at the moment. And back to your saying you went on a vision quest, Einstein once said, it's not knowing the answers that's important, it's knowing the questions. Now, last thing I want to say, if someone can't afford the Zoom retreat, they can also do that one DVD, the Sedona Vision Quest system, or some of our other materials. But we just want to help them, and I encourage everybody to do that foundation of going to the 10-lesson course Loretta's teaching.
So yeah, just to synopsis a little bit, Pete Sanders is talking about the Limitless Love Retreat, the Serenity Through the Storm, February 13th and 14th. It is online. It's available to you. You go to freesoul.net and you can sign up there. Make sure that you mention that you heard about this on the Loretta Brown show, and you will get $25 off the price of that retreat. And I will be there.
They'll get recording, so that if for some reason they can't be there for part of the 13th, 14th weekend or any of it, they will still get the full content.
Wonderful. And then also I am, as a Free Soul counselor, facilitator, I will be offering the 10-week dynamics of being a free soul. And that's going to start on January 31st. It's going to go for 10 weeks. And it will be via Zoom. So please sign up for that too. And I'm just listening. I think I need to offer the Joy Center workshop too. I'll get that up and running, because these things are really, really important for dismantling the limbic brain. And also I want to reiterate, get Science for Living as a Soul, the 2 DVD course is excellent. And Pete is really, really great at constantly updating the information. He gets information from his guides all the time. He passes it on. And Pete, maybe
people may not know this, but the reason Laura is saying counselor, our senior instructors are also trained in a 90-minute session that can help you learn to connect with your own guides and get answers from your guides. And she is one of the top 5 or 10 free soul counselors in the nation. So that's something else you can do with her separate than the 10-lesson course.
Yeah, and you can sign up for that stuff at schedule.reikioasis.com. So Pete, has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. And you know what? You may not have become a quote unquote medical doctor, but I think you're a doctor of the soul. And maybe you're a doctor of the free soul. I don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
the main thing is in this very troubling, that's why I got serenity through the storm. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. I still believe we're the greatest nation in the world. That's why I voluntarily served. I have other family members who served. You can serve. You don't have to do military. Just live life as a soul and be kind. If anything's possible, let's choose to be kind.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And this is Loretta Brown. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.